Hello and welcome to Gaijin Guy, where we look at manga, monsters, and other miscellany. I'm Patrick Ijima Washburn, and today we're looking at Matsumoto Leiji's first published full-length sci-fi one-shot that establishes many of the tropes that he would continue to use throughout his career. So keep your space telescopes pointed right here to Gaijin Guy. So last time we looked at young Matsumoto Akira, not yet Leiji's, Mitsubachi no Boken, published in 1954. He continued to make lots of comics that were never published, but his short animal and insect focused comics began to appear in the Mainichi Shogakusei Shimbun, the daily primary school newspaper, West Japan edition. And this continued from 1954 to 1956 with titles like The Ant and the Bee, The Rabbit and the Wolf, Kid Ladybug, and one outlier called Anger of the Martians. So one work which was created but not published at that time, 1956 actually when it was created, was The Story of Another World, Betsu Sekai no Monogatari. By the time it was published under a different name in 1958, Leiji had been working in comics magazines for about a year. He was hired to do one-off stories for the monthly girls comic Shoujo. And some of these stories I'll cover in the next Leiji Cast video when I talk about his early Shoujo stuff. And actually one of the stories I've already kind of touched on, Blue-Eyed Marie, in one of my, I think, manga haul videos. So this is the version of that Betsu Sekai no Monogatari, Story of Another World, or Tale of Another World. And this became his first book-length one-shot tankobon, like all-in-one. One book comic, 128 pages, published 2 years after completion and renamed as Uchu Sakusen Dai Ichigo. So I like to translate it directly as Plan 1 from Outer Space. But Leiji himself called it, it's on this side, called it Conquest of Space. So, which, okay. That works. Why not? And it became, and it's a kashihon because it was published by Sowa Manga Shupansha, which is a kashihon publisher. So these went kashihon, as you might know if you watch this channel, were made specifically for the rental comic market. So he had shopped it around with no luck, like to different publishers. Nobody wanted it. And he actually still has the rejection letters. Well, he had, he's passed away. The rejection letters for the original story. When it was published, or how it was published, actually, he had moved to a 4.5 tatami mat room. In other words, small, shoebox small, in a boarding house called Yamagoe-kan in Hongo Sanchome, Tokyo. Because he was doing work for Monthly Shoujo and also the Monthly Shoujo Club, so both girls' monthly comics. When he learned that a kashihon publisher, this one, Sowa, was going to be visiting that boarding house, because I think other manga artists also stayed there. So what he did was he nonchalantly placed his Conquest of Space originals, his pages out where, somebody would see them. And the publisher did see them, and he said, "Oh, can I publish this?" And Matsumoto said, "Well, it's not going to sell, playing it cool." And the publisher said, "Well, I'd like to publish it anyway." And so Matsumoto said, "All right, then, let's do it." and published about 1,000 copies, which were, you know, disseminated to the rental comic shops, and a kind of history was made. This is still a year before those weekly comics magazines like Sunday and Magazine were to become a thing. And so, and eventually that's the direction he'd like to go. He wanted to do science fiction, but he was mostly doing girl stuff. So this was like his first foray into that. The story is there's a scientist who learns of an alien plot to destroy Earth. Okay, and this particular plot is very similar to Queen Millennium's plot, actually. So radiation, Kentonium radiation, is being used to push Mars into Earth, and a heroic fighter pilot has to take on a fleet of flying saucers so that the young test pilot, who is our main character, Asahi, so he can fly a rocket to Mars and foil the alien plot with the help of Fanta, a beautiful and mysterious android from a dying planet. Okay, let's dig in and see what we got. First, let's start with the cover. We have the alien things that look much more menacing on the cover than they do inside, where they look kind of cute. We have really good representation of Mars and this cool kind of cat ear kind of helmet thing which is going on, which we don't see exactly this, but something similar. It's kind of cool. I really like, and cool little ray gun thing. The title, Space Plan Number 1, or I like to say Plan 1 from Outer Space, riffing on the horrible movie by Ed Wood, Plan 9 from Outer Space. Again, we have this little cat ear thing. This is like the symbol used on other books as well. This is the one we'll be talking about next time. It's also from the same company. So let's see what else we got. Like I said before, here's the title. Self-titled in English. There's our hero. It says Akira Pro 1955. So obviously it's by Matsumoto Akira, which is his real name. And so this is a few years before he changed it professionally. So we've got stylistic space representation. He's already really good at it. You already buy it. The planet there's that cat mask thing. So that is kind of a dude. That is not a dude. That is a lady person. So, interesting. Table of contents. Space volcanoes, because why not? It's cool. Galaxy. You see, he hasn't quite figured out how he's going to represent a galaxy, but still, pretty good start. It's a lot harder than you think. You've got the futuristic landscapes. You've got the suspended rail cars, which, he likes to have tubes in a lot of his landscapes later. You have this callback to the past. So here is I think it's a lord who possibly built Kokura Castle. Kokura Castle is a castle that's in Kitakyushu, where Leiji is from. Okay, and he's looking down at what would eventually become this future city. And we have a pretty lady walking down the street, and she gets waylaid by this guy whose name is Manuke. He says he's a detective. Manuke, by the way, means idiot. So this is a kind of a joke, a little bit of humor going on, but definitely The eyes are bigger than in the last comic that we looked at, so he's getting closer to his signature early Matsumoto style. So there's a fight, and this hero guy, he steps up and he punches the guy, and then the guy threatens to punch him back. And then you have this great panel here because you think he punches him, bang, but he's the one who got punched. That's really good comic storytelling. While they're doing their little kerfuffling, the lady got away. We'll see her again, obviously. So now we're in this aeronautic institute. Oh, by the way, armed guards, just to let you know. Armed guards, which, yeah, I don't know if that's I guess if it was a government building, perhaps there might be some such security. And what are they building? A rocket. Yeah, so it is kind of a government building. You have a chef guy who is kind of comic relief here. That's something that will show up again. What I liked about it is he's kind of speaking the Hakata Ben, which is like a Fukuoka dialect, you know. He's saying, Miss Agaria Ore. Chiga, Messi, what's he saying? Miss Agariagare. Agariagare. Kaise Modose. Yeah, this kind of, yeah. Not really. No, I'm gonna skip that. Cut. So anyway, we're just gonna zip through. Another really nice representation of Mars. For some reason, there's this radiation particle named Kentonium after this German scientist, Kreutz H. Kent, professor. So, you know, he likes to put in lots of erroneous German people. And so this is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with the fact that this scientist noticed that the planet Mars is being moved using that Kentonium to crash into the Earth, which is, no! That's like bad, yeah. So we're like, these backgrounds are not the greatest. There are some really nice background elements. There's some nice action. And we have a big shiny black robot who is pretty much impossible to beat. Also, a lot of weaponry at this place. Oh, I missed over something. When does this take place, this story? 1990X. 1990X. Where have I seen that before, 1990X? I'll show you. Here. Hokuto no Ken, Fist of the North Star. Fist of the North Star. Let's open that up. 1990X. End of the world. So, no singing of the Prince song at this moment in time, please. Thank you. Okay. Undefeatable robot. Even with a big-ass machine gun. Bow, 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 bow. Nope. Can't defeat him. Nope. Undefeatable. But, what's happening? Oh, yeah, that's the heroic main character is, you know, he's unperturbed. He's going after this robot. What a little heroic kid. He's a kid, but he's also a test pilot, so. And then the robot is like, haha, I'm going to blow up your rocket. Ha 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 ha. Explosion. Ho 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 ho. The ho ho ho's are still continuing. It's a lot of ho's. But, oh no, wait a minute. Sorry, I misread that. He's doing the ha ha ha, and somebody else is doing the ho ho ho's. And they're like, what in the heck in the world of ho ho ho's? It's she with the cat ears who's doing the ho ho ho's. Because she has shifted the rocket into the fourth dimension. That's where she is at the moment. She's from the planet Helena. And she's here to kick some robot butt. Because this robot is sent by the aliens who are here to try to stop the rocket from being launched. Because, of course, they're worried that if these bad guys, the bad guys are worried that if the good guys are able to shoot their rocket to Mars, they'll be able to stop what's happening to Mars. Now, on this page are two things. That there's kind of unfortunate depiction of African scientists. Yeah, it's a little bit, I can't even actually understand why the character's drawn like that. But there's also this panel here, which I think is pretty interesting use of the panel. You know how they're kind of laid on top of each other to kind of, I don't know, represent like a movie where they do all these intercuts, like fades between different people to show that it's a bunch of scientists who are telling that all over the world people are panicking to learn about this Mars problem. People from the Prime Minister to third-rate cartoonists. You know, he's got to put a little jab. It's cartoonist friends. Even the animal kingdom, that's a real Tezuka type of gag. So, crowd scene. Tezuka would have put some secret references to like Mickey Mouse and stuff, but there's nothing really like that. This was kind of interesting. This panel is like there's nothing to do but pray, and it's a full-page panel. And you know, it seemed like interesting reference. Kyushu, I don't know if you know this, was refuge to a large group of Christians who actually hid the fact that they were Christian. They were called the Hidden Christians, so that when the Japanese lord in charge decided that, you know, he was going to stamp out Christianity in this country, they went into hiding, or they just hid really well the fact that they were Christians. So, okay, we have bizarre alien landscapes. He's using this kind of rough line when he's really quite precise, but he's using this rough line to represent the alienness, I think, and of the structures. I don't think it's 100% successful, but he's trying something, which is important. There's one of those replays. Now these are the aliens, and they just look completely comical to me, and yeah, and this king is also speaking kind of the Fukuoka dialect, Konka, he's saying. So anyway, they're gonna try to stop the rocket from launching by sending their flying saucers to attack. Now we have the war room. And reporting for duty is, let's see, got a general type dude. And they're talking war. And you have a young pilot here who is willing to take on the mission of attacking the flying saucers for his country. And he's probably not going to make it. That's the point. He's probably not going to make it. Suicide mission. But he's going to do what he can. And so him and his jets. Leiji himself said that this design of jet didn't actually exist at this point. It might have been the first jet, like the first pictorial depiction of a jet like this. Some good camera work here, you know, like really nice perspective against the background. Yeah, some great scenes with the clouds, just very dramatic. Got the big radar screen. You have, this is, I call it an Leiji meter. You know, it's not quite the sophistication of his later meters, but you know, it's a hint of what's to come. So here they go. Here comes the rockets or the jets versus the flying saucers, and whatever they throw at the flying saucers, it ain't working. It just ain't working. You know, they shoot and they shoot, and then they're just getting picked off one by one. Here you have your scroll narration, which is a definite staple of the Leiji oeuvre. Meanwhile, while the jets are keeping the flying saucers busy, the crew of the rocket taking off. There they go. Whoa. Whoa. Now wait, I want to make sure. Did I miss something? I might have missed something. Okay, I don't think I missed it. All right, so they are off into space, and the young hero that I mentioned, he decided to do a kamikaze hit and take at least one of the flying saucers with him. And look at that, blam, sound effects in English, which is a thing he continued to do. Well, he got the one, but he sacrificed his life, and we can see floating in space is the ceremonial sword that he must have kept on him. Yeah, this kind of anachronistic weapon showing up in futuristic stories happens a lot, both ways. But guess who's on them? On the rocket with them is our invisible friend here, and she has made the rocket fourth dimensional once again, so that the flying saucers cannot attack it. So the rocket makes its way to Mars. Okay, and land on Mars. This is the view. This is the view that Matsumoto himself wanted to have. In fact, just by pure coincidence, okay, this has just happened this morning. I was chatting with a guy who I connected to on Facebook over the subject of books. And he said that he had talked to an astronaut, and he asked the astronaut who would he like, name 2 people that he would have liked to take into space. And he said both times Leiji, Matsumoto Leiji. So I thought that was, not only did Leiji desperately want to go, if you see the video of me with interviewing him, astronauts themselves would have loved to have taken him. And here's another kind of cat-like design for a space. I thought this is really cool, this kind of astronaut outfit, very unique, very original. So these are like their space marines, I suppose. Everything's ready to go. They're ready to go do their thing. When? Guess who? Our old friend Manuke, that guy who said he was a detective. So Manuke has shown up, and they bring him in. It was like this guy was hidden aboard, and he had this on him. So he empties the gun. Tells his friend, keep him locked up or whatever. And they go assemble their huge cannon looking thing, which is actually going to deal with the radiation. So something like the Cosmo Cleaner in Uchu Senkai Yamato. You know, Yamato, they had this Cosmo Cleaner that would clean up the Earth, get rid of all the radiation, so that the Earth can be healed. And it's not a big surprise that he would have thought of something like this, or wanted something like this, you know, because it had only been at this point a decade and some change since 2 atomic bombs were dropped on Western Japan. So they're going to set up the thing, fire the cannon thing, which is going to clean up the Kentonium radiation, and that's going to supposedly fix the problem. And like, yay, we did it. And then here it's Fanta without her helmet, but it's the same lady at the very beginning that we met, and her planet is actually dying. It's running out of energy, and so she's also dying. She's an android from that planet, and in her dying breath, she tells our heroes the alien's weakness, which is, if you've seen M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong's movie Signs, then you'll know aliens' weakness is water, which is, why they want to live on Earth, because it has so much water, which doesn't make any sense, but there you go. There's that very freaky image. This doesn't explain that there's something going on. So I don't really understand why that image, is it supposed to represent the Kentonium being eliminated? I'm not sure. So anyway, in her last dying breath, she says, water. And of course, our test pilot, he is a scientist. And so he figures out what to do to trigger clouds and make it rain, baby, make it rain. And that's what he does, and he makes it rain. And I really like, I lost my things. I really like this panel. I think it just, because he's not letting us forget that somebody sacrificed for this information, And so we get a shot of her as the alien, the flying saucers are being grounded and destroyed by rain. And that's mass murder, by the way, just to let you know, mass murder. So, and then something's going on with the rocket. So the drama's not finished. Guess what? Manuke somehow got his gun back. And our hero's good friend makes a play for the gun. Does not go well for him, unfortunately. So we have another casualty of war. So we have a little shootout. He does not kill Manuke, but he does shoot the gun out of his hand. And then Manuke takes off, runs out of the rocket. And he wants to go after him, but, the engines are already starting up, and we don't have time to go chasing after him. So we have to take off. And he's like, okay, and apparently somehow they'd left a grave for Fanta, which is very, that's, they recognize the hero that sacrificed for them. So here lies Fanta, 19XX, and then they have to take off. So this kind of grave, heroic death imagery is something we're going to see again and again. And then guess what? Manuke realizes he's stuck on the planet all alone, and that nobody's going to come get him. He is pretty well screwed. The nice little image of the Earth focusing on, of course, the Japan side, as as it should for this kind of story. So this is it. It was a kashihon, which doesn't really get mentioned that much. If you look into these things, this was a kashihon, and it should be called a kashihon manga. But when they talk about this one in books or whatever online, they don't really mention that it was a kashihon, but it's printed just like a kashihon, and this is of course a reprint from 2006, but a nice little volume, and a lot more of the tropes that I would expect from this very early work made when he was a teenager. You know what I mean? So that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. Let's take a look at our Matsumoto Leiji trope bingo card. And I think you'll see that a lot of the tropes that we're going to expect from other comics showed up in this one. You got the beautiful woman from space helping humans fight an evil empire. You got all the space scenes and the cityscapes and the narration scrolls, the anachronistic weaponry. You've got the Leiji meter. You've got the idealistic hero just set on a suicidal mission that he's doomed to fail. You've got, funny names for authority figures that are puns, and you've got a comic relief chef character and a mentor professor and a supersized cannon thing and a dying planet and just all kinds of things. And according to the rules that I've put on this bingo card, I've got 2 free spaces, so this will allow me to get a full 7 in a row super bingo. That's it. I hope you enjoyed it. Next time we're going to check out this one, Aoi Hanabira, Blue Petals. So join us then. See you next time on Gaijin Guy.